The remotely operated vehicle descends through 5,130 meters of Pacific water. At this depth, pressure reaches 530 atmospheres. The ROV's forward lights cut through particulate matter suspended in the current, revealing nothing but black water until the seafloor appears below. Then the sonar profile sharpens into angular lines that do not belong to volcanic geology. Steel beams emerge from the silt at severe angles. A section of flight deck stretches across the bottom, fractured into 3 major segments. This is USS Hornet, carrier CV-8, resting 17,000 feet beneath the surface where she sank on October 27, 1942, during the Battle of Santa Cruz Islands. Hornet's last known position came from damage reports filed by USS Mustin and USS Anderson. The destroyers ordered to scuttle her after Japanese air attacks left her dead in the water. Those reports placed the sinking northeast of Guadalcanal, but the coordinates were approximate. Ships under fire do not record precise navigation fixes. In 2019, research teams began cross-referencing American action reports with Japanese naval records from the carrier strike force that attacked her. They combined survivor testimonies with drift calculations based on ocean currents active in late October 1942. The search zone narrowed to a 20-square-mile area in the Coral Sea Basin. The expedition vessel, RV Petrel, positioned itself over the primary search grid in January 2019. Its deep-water sonar array transmitted acoustic pulses toward the seafloor, waiting for returns that indicated anomalies. Most returns showed sediment or basalt ridges. On the 4th day of scanning, a return signal displayed an object roughly 770 feet long and 90 feet wide. The profile matched fleet carrier dimensions. A second pass confirmed the object was not natural terrain. The feature showed straight edges, right angles, and a raised section consistent with an island superstructure. ROV deployment was scheduled for the following morning. The ROV reached bottom at 8:47 local time. The first object to enter the light cone was a 5-inch gun mount, barrel pointed upward at a 40-degree angle, frozen in a firing position. The mount's base had torn free from its deck fixture, but the barrel remained intact. Marine growth covered the breech mechanism. Moving forward, the camera revealed the flight deck's steel framework. The wooden planking, 3 inches of teak laid over steel plating, had dissolved decades ago. Only the underlying grid remained, crossbeams spaced at regular intervals where arresting wires once attached. The island superstructure leaned 20 degrees to starboard. Its forward face had collapsed inward, likely from a bomb hit that penetrated the bridge level. Portholes gaped open, their glass and frames long corroded away. The foremast had snapped near its base and lay across the flight deck, its radar antenna mount still attached. Anti-aircraft gun tubs lined the starboard catwalk, some guns still trained skyward, others tilted at random angles from the violence of the sinking. The ROV maneuvered along the port side, where torpedo damage had opened the hull. 3 impact points were visible, each roughly 15 feet in diameter. The steel plating had peeled inward, creating jagged cavities that exposed interior compartments now filled with silt. Navigation required constant adjustment. Silt clouds rose with every thruster pulse, reducing visibility to less than 10 feet. The ROV pilot relied on sonar distance readings and the tether management system to maintain position. At 0923, the vehicle reached the bow section. Hornet's distinctive clipper bow, designed to improve seakeeping in heavy weather, had buried itself nearly 30 feet into the sediment. The anchor chains remained secured to their hawse pipes, though the anchors themselves had sunk separately and were not visible. The flight deck's forward elevator shaft appeared as a rectangular void in the deck structure. Its platform collapsed into the hangar below. Access to the hangar bay required the ROV to enter through one of the torpedo breaches. The camera passed through the starboard hull opening at frame 87, where the second torpedo had struck. Inside, the hangar space stretched into darkness beyond the light's effective range. The overhead had partially collapsed, and steel beams hung at angles across the bay. Lighting revealed sections of the hangar floor still intact, though buckled and uneven. Debris covered most surfaces, unidentifiable metal fragments, pieces of shattered catwalk railing, sections of fire hose still coiled on their racks. Aircraft remains were scattered throughout the space. A propeller blade, bent 90 degrees at its midpoint, lay half-buried near a structural column. Nearby, a landing gear strut protruded from the silt, its tire long disintegrated, but the metal framework intact. Ordnance carts, designed to transport bombs and torpedoes from magazines to aircraft, sat overturned against bulkheads. One cart still held what appeared to be a practice bomb, its blue paint faded but recognizable. The munitions elevators, which lifted ordnance from lower magazines to the hangar level, had jammed in their shafts. Only the tops of the elevator platforms were visible through gaps in the deck plating. Machine shops and maintenance spaces lined the hangar's port side. The ROV entered one compartment identified by its location as the aviation metalsmith shop. Workbenches remained bolted to the deck, their vices and tools scattered across the floor. A compartment that likely served as an electrical repair space contained spools of wire and fragments of radio equipment. Light bulb sockets hung from overhead fixtures, empty. The brass fittings on damage control lockers had developed the blue-green patina characteristic of marine corrosion. Fire extinguisher brackets stood empty along the bulkheads. The hangar bay had flooded rapidly when Hornet took her final list and capsized. Most movable equipment had shifted to starboard during the roll, piling against the hull before sinking. The ROV navigated aft toward crew berthing spaces located beneath the hangar deck. These compartments had sustained less structural damage than the hangar above, though silt intrusion was severe. The first berthing area showed rows of metal bed frames stacked 3 high along both bulkheads. Mattresses and bedding had decomposed, leaving only the frames and springs. Footlockers, once secured at the foot of each bunk, lay scattered and crushed. One locker had broken open, revealing a corroded metal canteen and what appeared to be a belt buckle, its brass still faintly visible beneath incrustation. In the officers' quarters section, smaller staterooms held more personal artifacts. A wristwatch rested on a desk surface, its crystal shattered and hands stopped at 9:15. The time did not correspond to any specific event in Hornet's sinking timeline. Watches often stop when their mechanisms flood with seawater, not necessarily at the moment of sinking. A shaving kit lay in a collapsed drawer, its metal razor handle intact, but the blade dissolved. Uniform buttons scattered across the deck showed the eagle and anchor insignia of the U.S. Navy. The ship's library, located amidships on the second deck, had flooded when the hull breached. Books had long since disintegrated, but metal bookends remained on shelves, marking where volumes once stood. A typewriter sat on a desk, its keys fused by corrosion into a solid mass. In the adjacent radio room, vacuum tubes had shattered, but the metal frames of radio transmitters stood intact. The equipment had been secured for battle stations when Hornet was hit. Nothing suggested hurried evacuation or panic. Personnel had followed damage control protocols until the order to abandon ship was given. 140 men died with Hornet. Most were wounded personnel in the sick bay who could not be moved during evacuation, or crew members trapped below decks when compartments flooded. The ROV observed no human remains. At this depth, organic material decomposes within years. What endures are objects: a boot sole, a pen clip, a name stenciled on a compartment door. These items mark the presence of the men who served aboard and provide physical evidence of their final workday aboard a warship under attack. Hornet absorbed damage from multiple attack waves on October 26, 1942. The first strike came at 0910 when Aichi D-3A dive bombers from carriers Shokaku and Zuikaku attacked from high altitude. Two 250-kilogram bombs struck the flight deck. One penetrated near the forward elevator, detonating in the hangar and igniting fuel from aircraft being prepared for launch. The second bomb hit aft of the island, destroying the signal bridge and killing most personnel there. Fire spread through 3 decks before damage control parties contained it. The ROV survey documented both impact points. The forward bomb crater measured approximately 18 feet across, with deck plating peeled back and bent downward into the hangar. The aft crater showed similar characteristics, though less structural distortion due to the thicker armor plating near the island. Scorch marks extended outward from both impact points, visible as discolored steel despite decades of corrosion.